From military aircraft without pilots to a military presence without a permanent force. At the NATO summit in Warsaw, the alliance demonstrated new approaches to weaponry, army service and defense in the 21st century. A pilot can control it from the ground. Such aircraft can be used for intelligence gathering, rapidly sending information from the air to the ground to be shared among all NATO members. NATO decided to deploy 4 battalions in Poland and the Baltics on a rotational basis. However, NATO assures that all of its militaries will be able to assume the necessary positions if needed due to quick mobilization.
NATO officials led tours around the alliance's achievements in ground surveillance systems.
In the transportable ground exploitation stations, the inflatable tents you will see in a minute, this is where our analysts sit, and they take the information provided by our aircraft and by other NATO assets, and they put this information together and put in a NATO network, a new NATO network, and give this information to our high echelons. And that is actually the new capability NATO has. So please go inside. Here you can see the examples of the exploitation stations with maps, with radio information, with pictures coming in from various sources, and the analysts are the experts to put this information together. This is one of our satellite communication antennas, which we need to communicate from the ground to the aircraft and receive the information from the aircraft to the ground.
World leaders, meanwhile, have recognized cyberspace as a military arena on the same level as land, sea, and air. They also agreed to send 4 battalions to NATO's eastern borders, 1 for Latvia, Lithuania, Estonia, and Poland. It was NATO's response to Russia's use of force in Ukraine, an attempt to guarantee security in the Baltics. Purely defensive measures, NATO says.
We have decided to enhance our military presence in the eastern part of the alliance, with 4 battalions here in Poland, as well as Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania on a rotational basis. These battalions will be robust and they will be multinational. They demonstrate the strength of the transatlantic bond, and they make clear that an attack on one ally would be considered an attack on the whole alliance.
The NATO summit in Warsaw took place amid new security challenges, like Russian policy and ISIS, and also amid the British vote to leave the EU. Will Brexit destabilize the transatlantic unity of the NATO allies? Indeed, the United Kingdom is the second most powerful military force in the world after the USA.
While Brexit will change the UK's relationship with the European Union, it will not change the UK's leading position within NATO. Unity and cooperation between NATO and the EU remains as important as ever. In these times of uncertainty, our partnership is increasingly essential. So at this summit, we will take our partnership to a new level, to counter hybrid threats, to increase our resilience against cyber attacks, and to address maritime security in the central Mediterranean.
Experts are not so positive.
The problem is that the fragility, the consensus that exists in NATO today, which is being underscored by this summit, is very fragile. Brexit has already weakened the effectiveness of this consensus because the EU is a very important player in security as a whole. And if there is a change of government in France, that could reverse the consensus, even destroy it, because not only Marine Le Pen but Sarkozy have a fundamentally different approach towards Russia.
The alliance paid close attention to the Baltics at the NATO summit in Warsaw. It seems they didn't forget about the Black Sea region either. where Russia is increasing its troops. However, they only plan to put minimal countermeasures into place. Ukraine could be ready to join the Black Sea Naval Fleet. Today, Romania promotes a military observer mission in the Black Sea region.
First of all, NATO has already increased our presence in the Black Sea region in the southeastern part of our alliance. Both with air policing assurance measures in the Black Sea, but also in Turkey, with AWACS planes and defensive missile defense systems. So we have already increased our presence. Second, we agreed today what we call tailored forward presence in the southeast, and that is based on a Romanian-Bulgarian brigade, and that will provide a framework for extensive training of NATO forces.
Petro Poroshenko, President of Ukraine.
At this point, collaboration in the Black Sea region is in the far future. At this summit, Ukraine was visible. The President of Ukraine, Petro Poroshenko, happened to be in the center of a group photo of NATO members' leaders and its partners. The General Secretary's speech was translated into Ukrainian, and Ukraine, the only country with NATO partner status, was present at meetings in Warsaw at the highest level. However, the prospect of NATO membership wasn't mentioned in the declaration adopted after a session of the Ukraine-NATO Commission. Ukraine and Georgia are moving parallel to NATO. Georgian authorities began to intensify cooperation with NATO 2 years ago and have already sent a membership application to the alliance, having stamped out Soviet-tidal corruption from its army.
Georgia is going ahead in terms of army reforms, and we receive consolidative material and financial aid to undertake the reforms that our Georgian colleagues have already completed.
Ukraine didn't send an application for membership in NATO. The war in eastern Ukraine and the need for reform are the official reasons. They must precede any applications. The closest friends of Ukraine remember that a lot will depend on itself, and present decisions are just a perspective for years and decades.
It's not directly connected to Russian aggression to Ukraine. It's like long-term investments. They're important for the future, and their realization depends on how Ukraine wants to collaborate with the alliance.
Ukraine's American partners are talking about better collaboration and cooperation in the future.
The partnership between Ukraine and NATO becomes more important at this stage. It provides training, collaboration between Ukrainian and American military experts. It's about collaboration on a higher level in military and other sectors. I think it's difficult to compare Ukraine and Georgia.
The Ukrainian president took this meeting as a symbol.
61 years ago, Warsaw was the place of the Warsaw Pact. And today, we have Warsaw as a place where we have a NATO summit.
According to the president, Ukraine has a chance to intensify cooperation with NATO. It's an arrangement of what we have done earlier: 43 avenues for cooperation, 8 trust funds, 5 programs of developing the security sector. Among them, a launch of a joint alliance platform for resisting hybrid threats, help with mine clearance of territories in the conflict area in eastern Ukraine, and countermeasures for cyber threats. Ukrainians share their experience that they got under their belt in conflict with Russia with NATO colleagues in the Yavoriv training area. After the summit in Warsaw, Ukraine could start a process which could allow us to become a country with increased NATO cooperation.
Comprehensive assistance package, which was unanimously voted in the Commission, was a very ambitious document, which it is very important to Ukraine, to me. It is a valuable tool to assist us in meeting that objective. This is a unique package. Never ever in the history of NATO such a solid and substantial support for the mid-term perspective was provided to the partner country.
During the summit, the Ukrainian president had meetings with the leaders of the USA, Turkey, Great Britain, France, and Italy. One of the themes is still the Minsk agreements and the extension of sanctions against Russia until it implements the agreements.
If Ukraine joined the alliance, It would do so under full combat alert. Ukraine pledged to reform its armed forces in accordance with the NATO standards by 2020. Georgia pledged to do the same 2 years ago. Today, all Georgian commanding officers speak English fluently and completed trainings abroad. However, Ukraine cannot impress the alliance with the same achievements. NATO considers Ukraine among Georgia and Moldova, countries that the alliance is ready to help only after profound changes.